Hey guys, welcome back to Sharks Academy, and in today's video, I want to share with you the weekly market analysis moving forward to next week. So let's start off with the projection for the dollar index. Over here, we clearly broke up towards the upside, right? This is a break of market structure. We are looking to buy at a few areas, definitely, right? Based on the 4-hour time frame, this would be a legit buy area. Okay, we expect some sort of reaction over here. Otherwise, you are definitely looking to buy over here and over here as well. Of course, this being the extreme. Okay, and if you play around the time frames, you realize that this over here, right, it tags into a higher level of demand over here. So this is actually the higher time frame order flow, right? We broke this area, we tap into demand, we broke another high. So we can either expect the extension towards the upside or a pullback before going higher. So either way, in the long-term perspective, we are bullish onto the dollar index. So look for some rejections over here for sure. Okay, this entire block over here is bullish. So definitely look to buy inside any of these demand areas. Okay, so of course, use your own entry techniques. You can use the 15M break of market structure. You can use 1M confirmations as well. So over here, we have the Aussie dollar. And if you were to follow the entire market structure over here, you realize this is a bullish move. Okay, so ultimately, we are trying to trade into this demand area before potentially moving higher, because you want to ask yourself, if you want to be a seller, where are you going to position yourself to be a seller? Two areas here, right, the extreme, or over here. So this is where the last point of mitigation happened. Okay, because prices broke down, mitigate, broke down. So we expect prices to eventually move back, mitigate before going lower. And this means that we can buy low at this demand, buying into this area, expecting this current movement to hold, to go lower. All right. So expectation is one thing. What happens over here is another thing on its own, right? Because if prices were to move higher, mitigate supply, fail to create a lower low, and instead broke towards the upside, we are going to be a buyer, all right? And we expect this area to fail. Okay, so whether or not this fail is another thing as well, because prices can indeed move into the extreme after breaking this level to then go lower. This is all possible. So we trade what we see, of course. In it now, we are waiting for a supply area over here to be mitigated. So let's just use this. Okay. Otherwise, if you were to play the higher time frame, you realize that this daily over here is a valid buy. All right, and ultimately we are trying to look for a move towards the upside. Okay, so this is the bias. Look for buys here, look for sells here. Otherwise, look for sells here as well. So next up, we have the euro pound, and you can see the daily over here, right? We have a break of market structure. We tap into demand area. We change character here as well. Again, can you see over here? We change character. And this means that we are likely to run this high. Okay, so now, as a buyer, where do you want to buy? Do you want to buy over here? You do not want to buy over here. You want to buy a pullback right here. So let's play down the lower time frame. You realize that this is a bullish move. And of course, you can look to buy over here. This is definitely a valid demand, right? It's a huge zone. So you want to actually use the lower time frame. Maybe you can refine into this area. Possible as well. Huge imbalances inside here. Expecting to do what? To get filled, right? So we want to be a buyer over here. We can buy on the 4 hours over here as well. Right, this is a valid demand as well. So where is the entire bullish leg? Here, right? This is the entire bullish leg. And then now we have a smaller one here. So can you see the realignment? First of all, we have this breakout. We came back down. We broke upside again. This over here is the realignment. And we are likely to run this high. Because why? This high failed to break lower. So if prices were to come back up into this supply, this might not hold. Because if this breaks down, came back to the extreme, we expect this supply to hold because this supply broke market structure. But since this supply didn't break market structure as of now, right, because we do not know what's going to happen. If this suddenly breaks down, then this becomes extreme, right? This becomes a valid POI to take prices lower. So let's move back to Aussie dollar. You realize that it's the same thing. So remember, we expected some kind of a sells over here. Okay, But this reaction can indeed earn you money, right? Because this is a 4 hours, a change over here, and a pullback is easily about 100 pips, right? You trading on the 15M, on the 5M, and on the 1M is going to gain you probably 1:20 RR or whatsoever. Alright, but we do not expect this supply to hold if this didn't break market structure. Okay, so if prices starts to hold and shift, we are going to be a buyer and perhaps catch some sort of temporary sells, then go higher. All of these are definitely part of the game. So back to Euro Pound again, right? We broke market structure towards the upside. We have some mitigation here. We change character over here and looking to buy at this level and this level. So definitely up to you what kind of entry techniques you want to use. You can use the H4, change of character. You can use a 15M break of structure, then go down to the 1M. Next up, we have Euro Yen. We are still bullish. So based on the H4, you realize this is the break of market structure. So if you use the 50%, you are almost going to buy here, right? So you're going to buy somewhere here, which means to say you have room for sales. So what am I expecting? We have a change of character here. We expect a downside move, whether it's from here, whether it's from here, whether it's from here, right? We expect this high to hold for now, running into this level. All right, you want to buy at the discounted prices for sure. So on the higher time frame, this is an entire block, right? You can see this breakout. This is a block on its own. So this entire area is an order block, right? So this low liquidates this low. Can you see it's sweep liquidity, then broke structure. So let's just play the high time frame. You can see this is a clear daily demand area, or maybe a weekly as well. So on the weekly, if you were to refine this entire POY, this is the sell to buy wick. This is also a valid demand. You have to play the daily, then of course you want to play, you can see, 2 days, okay, daily. I think daily is fine. You can use this area over here, right? Or you can use this over here as well on the weekly. So all of these are buy areas. On the 4 hours, I'm short-term sell, right? Short-term bearish into demand areas here. So this entire block is a demand. This on the weekly is a demand. So definitely looking to buy on the higher time frame, right? Break out of market structure. This is just a change of character to go lower before going higher. Same thing over here. So now for Euro dollar, where am I expecting to sell from? We broke market structure here. I'm looking to sell here. So if we have a change of character here, we can take this towards the upside, right? We sweep liquidity over here. If we see an aggressive breakdown, we can trade the supply over here, right? And otherwise, if prices were to break outside, then we expect a bullish move into this supply before a move down, then break market structure again. Okay, so currently the framework over here is bearish, and a change of character here on the lower time frame, let's say the 4 hours time frame. Right. So for me, liquidity, right? If we see a sweep and a breakout, I can be a buyer. On the buy over here, on the buy over here. Right. If we see the aggressive sweep, sweeping this liquidity, then the breakout towards the upside over here, then I want to be a buyer, at least into this supply, right? Because you can see this is a huge structure, right? Over here, we have this move, then we break down. And then if we see this change of character, we can expect buys into this supply. And then whether or not this supply fails is another thing. What can happen over here? One, we expect a mitigation, a breakout. Then now we are bullish. We're going to look for buys. All right. Otherwise, if prices were to break down, then we're going to continue this bearish movement down, right? And then this will be the next leg before the break of market structure again. So next up for pound yen, we have this break of market structure. This is just a minor structure. And if we see a change of character here, again, we can look for temporary sells before going higher, right? So I'm not bearish until this gets broken, this level here, right? So what lies beneath all of this? Right, liquidity. So there's shit tons of liquidity here. All right, and this remains as a valid POI, right? This demand, this support is going to be holding unless we see some of a break of structure here. So let's say we start to see this, and we see a breakdown. So now, with this bearish break of structure towards the downside, we expect a bearish movement to then grab all of this liquidity. Otherwise, this is definitely going to hold, right? Although we have liquidity here, this is not going to come back down anytime soon until we start to see a bearish market structure happening here, which means to say I'm still a buyer, right? Go to the weekly time frame. Look, you want to buy here as much as possible. You want to buy here, right? On the weekly and on the daily, we have this minor break. If you're aggressive, you can look for buy sale for sure. All right, let's just play around the time frames. You go to the 4-hour time frame. Okay, so this is a 4-hour structure. All right, and all of these are minor. Can you see all of these are minor structures? Not valid, right? Not a strong POI to buy from. So now with this, I expect some sort of change here. If this change character over here, I will be a buyer. Otherwise, you can expect some sort of one over here. This is actually valid as well. So this can happen here, here, and here. And until this low breaks, I'm still a buyer on the 4-hour time frame. Next up, pound dollar. What can we actually expect from pound dollar? Again, break out of market structure towards the downside. Mitigation, can you see this is a perfect mitigation? So with this, we expect a sell side move towards this 1.14 area. Right, it's pretty far-fetched for now, but you understand that on this framework alone, right, this framework is bearish. And with this, we expect this liquidity over here to get ran. Right, so now look for ways to get involved in sells. So of course, if we will go down to the lower time frame, you can expect some sort of a bullish movement, maybe here. Right, and this may just be a reaction. So for those traders who are looking to catch buys of this entire sell move, you could, but understand the fact that this buy is a retracement buy. All right, you always want to be in line with the market structure. So you can see over here, we have a breakout. All right, so yes, we can be a buyer into this area over here. So maybe you can use this one as your supply. You can use this as your supply. All of these are definitely valid. All right, if it comes back to go lower, and of course here as well. So what are we expecting over here? Let's just play around time frames and look for POIs to work with. So now you can see over here, we have this demand, valid for sure. If you want to be a buyer here, of course it's risky, right? You are catching the falling knife. So if you were to play the 4 hours, we could. Look at this, break, right? If I were to see a change of character here, like this is enough, right? This is enough for me to catch a temporary buy. For those who are dying to buy pound dollar, you can expect this change of character here on the H4 before starting to buy. You are not going to wait for 15M over here and start to catch buys, right? You want to use the higher time frame, at least the 4 hours or the daily, to show you that prices has the intention to at least move higher, short-term buyers. Then use the 15M here before looking for buys. And your target is pretty limited, right? You're going to just target over here. If this is a H4 or daily change of character, your 15M is going to bring you into this level because prices can move higher, sweep this, and just break down from here. This is definitely valid because overall, we are downtrend over here. Okay, so otherwise, if you have a strong bias that prices is going to come back here into the premium level, let's say over here, right? All of this, and then to tap into the supply over here, or maybe even this supply here, is fine, right? So you establish a bias that prices is going to be bullish if it change character here to go higher into premium, right? Premium level, then start to turn bearish from here. This is valid because you have a plan for yourself, right? If your plan is to buy into the premium before selling, then go ahead, right? If prices give you the change of character here, you have to take the trade. So now for New Zealand dollar, how can I catch sells? Follow this price movement on the weekly. All right, we have this change of character here. So this is where market realigns because we have a bearish framework here. Prices delivered bullishly. We have a change character here, right? Sells, broke, sells, broke, sells. So now what? We are waiting for prices to break and then catch sells again here, right? And then this should continue to deliver lower to grab liquidity here. So why is the bottom side liquidity? Although we are looking at a bullish move here. Can you see this is a bullish move? We indeed change character here, right? This is not a breakup structure. This is a change of character. Why? Because this is the high that broke market structure. So if I want to be a buyer, I would say if you want to be a bullish bias, this has to be broken. Okay, so now I'm going to be a seller. I'm going to trade this order flow until prices grabs this liquidity. Next up, the dollar Canadian. Not the best. You can see over here clearly in the range. We're going to see a market sweep right now. If we have this sweep, we broke towards the upside. Then all of a sudden, this becomes a clean buy, right, to go higher. And this should continue going higher. Some sort of areas over here. Maybe this could be your target for sells. So again, if you want to be a seller, you can wait to sell at the premium. Otherwise, trade the lower time frame like the daily. And on daily, you can see this is still ranging and clearly no directional bias. All right. Yes, we are temporarily bullish, so you can be a buyer if you want to. Okay. You can see we have lows, highs, lows. We broke towards the upside with sweep liquidity. We broke upside again. If I want to be a buyer on the daily, where I'm going to buy from, I'm going to buy here. So this is a short-term buy towards the upside. I can look for buys here for sure. This failed to break lower, right? So it wicks out, liquidity grab, and this looks like it's gonna run this over here. So as of right now, I'm bullish, and I'll continue to be bullish until it shows me otherwise. So next, USD CHF, we have this demand here. You can see we broke towards the upside. All right, so we have the high, we have the low, we broke. So the breakout of market structure happens here. All right, and ever since then, we are looking to buy into this level. So if you were to follow the framework, it goes like this. Sorry, yeah. High, low, high, low, high. So this is the framework. So what happens here? This is a realignment on the weekly. We sweep liquidity, we broke structure towards the upside. We came back down, we mitigate this area. Can you see? Mitigation. Then now what? Breakout. So where am I looking to buy? Definitely here. Okay, or you can use this as well. So all of these are potential liquidity. Okay, and this will not be ran until prices starts to deliver bearish order flow. All right, so if prices were to come back here, I'm going to be a buyer to go upside. If prices were to start to change character here, which means to say, let's say we see this, we see a sweep, we see a breakdown, then now I'm going to be bearish short term into this level and see what happens here, right? If market realigns, then I'm going to be a buyer. Why? Because this is the framework. Can you see this is still bullish, right? Although we have temporary change of character here, we are still bullish in the overall picture. And this can indeed catch sells. Right, we broke, we can catch sells here. All of these are potential sell areas into this demand to run this and induce before going higher.